Uh, here we go. Let's do it. Episode 1, The War Journalist. See how this goes. Well, guess we could start off properly here. Let's go. Shit, I forgot my own outline. Hang on.
Intro to the show.
Is that what we
Premise and
did?
basis.
Is that what we
Intro
did?
to the show. Okay, what the fuck are we doing here?
Well, definitely should talk about our premise going forward and what we wish to achieve doing this.
Money, lots of money.
Yeah, I wish this is my get rich scheme.
Absolutely.
So the original idea actually came from that we were going to do like MILSIM related stuff, historical stuff, and gaming. So 3 different topics. Well, I know definitely with the state we're in when it comes to our MILSIM setting, in Battlefield 5 is where we all came from. I don't think we're gonna.
I mean, I came from Arma personally.
Shut up. Arma MILSIM. I think my current situation of what we all met each other from. Hey there, does that work for you?
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
For now.
It's true.
For now. But yeah, there's not really much going on to us actually basically falling away from that. No, exactly. Maybe I shouldn't say fall away from it, but I think you guys get what I mean. Is this the community is falling?
It's slowing down.
Yeah, it's slowed down pretty heavy for us, and we're somewhat just sitting down, getting ready for our next game to actually transition to get out of the Battlefield 5 world into 2042, or maybe even Hell Let Loose if you all go that route type of thing.
Yeah.
Many options, but we're pretty much on the back burner, so I don't think we're going to do that when it comes to this podcast. So I still might implement the game part of it, but I think the main premise will be our historical talks. A lot of it's going to be just learning from each other, and then trying to teach each other what we know. Have some comedy thrown in the mix there. Have some fun just overall, and I can see Slade over there is chuckling.
I am excited to learn. However, the teaching aspect for me,
that's what you're saying in class.
That's what you say. Yeah,
and
that's what you say in class.
This is Slade's classroom part of the podcast. Welcome to the Slade segment.
the BS segment when you're trying to get your teacher to give you a better grade. You're like, I'm here to learn. I personally love learning.
I love learning. I'm here to get
like
A's.
Something that I like more than learning in this world.
Can I touch your chalkboard for you, sir?
Yeah, okay. So, well, that's our premise of going forward with this whole thing. It will be fun. It will go for exactly where we all hope it to be. Let's get to introductions of what faces you're going to be seeing every week now. Our ugly mugs that actually decide to turn on the webcams, and the other individuals are smart enough to not hit the record button.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, my mustache.
Don't ever use the word smart with me.
My mustache is falling apart, so it's not me looking at. Great, right here.
Yeah, I got to get back to the Spaniard twist.
Well, I had it done this morning, and then today got really sweaty.
The day wore out my hair.
I thought I wasn't going to make it to do the first episode. And I was like, oh, great. And then now we had technical issues that pushed it back even farther. Fuck this shit, I say. Anyway. So, I'm going to start off with myself. I'll be one of the main hoosh, I guess you could say. And call me Aaron, and those who know me as History Nerd. We'll go... at least on my screen, let's go to the Mr. Slade over here to introduce himself.
Well, shit, I thought you already had me do that impromptu, but no, it's essentially, as I said, I have little to offer within the learning aspect. I'm sure there are things here and there that I can, as will in any situation, but I'm here just as much to learn as you guys are because I've only gotten so much, especially out of high school and a decent amount out of college. But once you do your own research, once you get into the interesting topics, I think there's a lot more to the meat that we actually could grab onto. And any comedic factor, I like doing this stuff for the sake of smiles. We can't just be bored the whole fucking time. Like it doesn't work like that.
Yeah, let's
And
just sit around in the
Says you.
cubicle and oh, shut up. Let's sit around in a cubicle and just be monotone speaking into the mic. All right.
and that'll be my part.
Slade over here as his name's actually Slade, so we'll go by that. Or you might hear us call him Swadums, which is basically like mine, history nerd. Is his tag another type of what do they call that? There's certain names.
Alias.
I guess you could say alias, but there's another term to. It's been around for like ever when it comes to this.
No, I know what you're trying to say.
What was it called?
Like
handle. Handle.
I was gonna
It's
say
your handle.
I thought you were gonna say the term for like an author when they use
Same.
like a
I thought you were
fake
gonna say
name.
a pseudonym.
Yeah, pseudonym. Yeah.
No, I wasn't going with pseudonym. I was going.
That's too fancy of a word. So,
I was looking like
that's too fancy
you
for
look
me.
at like all
It's just
these,
a handle.
Yeah, it's just a handle, like everyone's Twitter handle. It's what I was thinking about. That's what my head is going. So yes, Swams, you may hear us call them that. Let's go down to number 3 down here.
Hello, I'm number 3. My name is number 3. My name is Tyler, and my gamer tag they might call me by is Gendra. Mr. Gendra. Don't ask why.
And he's basically another one of our more of a main host. Should be helping me deliberate through all of this. Slade is kind of more. We give him an outline, but he's just going to be going on for the ride as we go through all this type of stuff. I basically gave him all an outline to look at, go on from there. I wrote down a script to actually go off of, which will then we can all deliberate between each other. There is going to be a fourth. He decided not to show up tonight. Who knows why? As far as we know, he's probably dead.
He better be.
Drowning in the Chicago pizza.
Oh, it's not pizza. We won't get back there. Don't take us back there.
Oh, we could go down into the freaking Warhammer topics.
No. So there's this guy.
Excuse me. Well, figured I guess we've got inductions out of the way. The premises we're gonna go.
Oh yeah, my Twitch account is blank. My Twitter account is blank.
Oh my gosh. Plug this, plug that, plug my asshole.
This. I mean,
God.
This goes quiet there. He's like, oh hell no.
He's like, oh, he might actually accept shit.
Shit. Well, anyway, we should probably dive into our first topic, which we decided I asked General about it. We decided our first topics are going to be a little bit more well-known and simple to start this thing off until we get into some other topics, different histories that we can dive into that you may have probably then read about in high school or wow, almost saw his girlfriend right there. Just other topics you may have not gone through in middle school or high school that you aren't as well known, but they happened and they could have influence over today's politics or not. So our first topic we decided to go with was Napoleon and the Napoleonic Wars.
Oh, I thought it was going to be the other Napoleon. Never mind. I'm out. See, Napoleon Dynamite. That's what I wanted.
We're still about the pop culture over here. Yeah, we're just gonna dive into a movie that I literally fell asleep watching.
Like 2-decade-old pop culture.
Again, I fell asleep watching.
Yeah.
It's the only movie I've ever fallen asleep watching. Wow. So let's dive into this. As I get my script out over here, and all my sources of hand cramps. We're going to start off with Napoleon's background, as far as we know. So let's see. According to my knowledge, or just what I researched, I was a little bit more of a refresher when I went down to Napoleon's background himself. Done more of Napoleonic Wars, not really much of things before the Napoleonic Wars. So this was a learning, something new to me. So it was actually fun to write down this as I went through it after a long work day, which is why did I do this? Anyway, Napoleon Bonaparte. So what we know is with his name is very Englishified. His actual French way of saying it, which disclosure before we get into all of this, as we go on, guess who's gonna fuck up names of towns and whatnot, pronunciations, because I am not French and I do not speak French. So apologies and disclaimer about that ahead of time. Who is pinging me up? Oh my gosh, P1AD. Good Lord, General, it's all your people.
Kendra, control your men.
I refuse to.
So anyway, his name was actually pronounced, this what I found translations of, was Napoleone Bonaparte. It says, sure.
Mamma mia.
Sure.
But we all call him Napoleon Bonaparte. So let's go with that. He was born August 15th, 1769 in Corsica. Corsica was some little island. I tried looking at it. It looked like it was just
I know where it is.
Please explain more than
It's
make my
to the left.
butchering of
It's
it.
to the left of Italy.
That's what I
To
thought.
the left of Italy, there's the top one is Corsica, the bottom one is Sardinia.
Okay, well, this is my question. Is it a separate nation at this time? Because in the research that I did, it seemed to be part of Italy at part, and then it also seemed to be separate. So how was that? What was going on with that?
First, very early on there, Corsica, at least at one point, was owned by the it wasn't Italy at that point. Italy hadn't formed yet. It was the
Kingdom Naples?
I think it was owned by the Kingdom of Naples, and they needed money, so they decided to sell it to France. So France got Corsica.
Which you'll see that in like Napoleon's.
Yeah, there's a lot of land selling going on.
Yeah, there's a lot of land selling, but then you also see a lot of favoritism with Italy itself, which is why you see that with the Corsica then, of that being his home island, essentially his homeland.
That's why I questioned it. It seems to have a lot of Italian ties, and throughout the history that he does, there is a lot of mercy, I guess you could say, in some ways on Italy compared to other places and nations. So it was curious as to the relationship with the two.
No, it's definitely interesting to see that part and just be like, okay.
Still even today, Corsica doesn't have they're essentially their own culture group, but they don't really belong to anyone. Like, well, I mean, Corsica is still French territory today, and Sardinia is still Italian territory, despite both of them having their own whole separate cultures.
They definitely still share what they came from, I guess you could say, would be the way of saying it with that. But Corsica. Anyway, he was the fourth child of his parents, second surviving. I thought that was pretty interesting. The point when I researched that point, it was like second surviving, fourth child. It really tells a lot of the back in the day how much you see these people pumping out kids and like how many of them actually survive.
That's not actually a high number for that time, though. 4 and that's 50%. So I mean, it's good rate at that point if you're going off of the mob. I mean, normally it's like 15.
I didn't write it down. I should have. But I believe in my research I saw that there was his parents both had a total of like 8 kids.
Okay, I didn't see that. I saw the same.
I think it was 8.
4. I only saw 4. That was the number I kept coming up with.
I think that's, unless I was maybe confusing with a different article or not article on Napoleon, but maybe somebody else I was doing. Who knows? For some reason, 8 sticks out to me.
There have been multiple Napoleons, like successors.
I mean, could have been
like
maybe
his great grandson.
Yeah.
Unless that's what they were referring to in the
None
research
nearly
I
as
was doing.
based as the original.
He
True.
comes up a lot when you search Napoleon because he's Napoleon Bonaparte with another, and I forgive my French, but some type of French German accent title afterward. And he's the gentleman that when no one stepped up to the French Empire, he was like, you know what? I'm close enough in bloodline where I'm going to attempt to go and do something. So he does come up a lot in the research when you try to do Napoleon Bonaparte because of the name and relevancy.
Could have actually, could have been confused with that, but that was probably from a lot of my research when I've done this for years with any of the historical. Oh my god, I could not get that out. Historical research. God, hang on, more
Say your
games.
name.
I'll fix the problem where alcohol.
Cheers.
Anyway, my historical research that I've done for years is always based off of multiple resources. I don't go off of just like type in the Wikipedia and go, oh, it's 100% truth.
No, absolutely.
I usually use Wikipedia as a first stop. And then I'll move on to get a little bit of a based idea, and then move on to go to more ideas and more different articles, more different research, more sources. Then and combine it all to create a collective. This is what I actually know,
It's
and
the
this is
only
how
way
much
to do it.
research. Yeah, don't take from one source. I take from multiple to create one way, and maybe even compare the ways as you get the ones that are conflicting. Anyway, that was a tangent that we're getting sidetracked on, or I'm getting sidetracked on, I should say. So his parents, as I was researching that, came on to it was his dad's name was Carlo Bonaparte. He was a lawyer in Corsica. He came from Tuscan nobility, which is why you see a little bit more of Napoleon being practically all the way, up on the totem pole, not coming from a peasant background that got him higher up to even get to where we would know him as in one of the greatest wartime or just generals, battle commanders of like all time. Is definitely coming from a Tuscan nobility family. His mother's name, and here's where I'm going to start butchering some names, because Letizia Ramonino? Sure.
Sure. Oh, man. Not even
Again,
give it a
I'm
second
gonna butcher
whack.
this.
You're just gonna call it an easy one? No. It's like picking an 8. Nope.
Ramolino.
Nailed it.
Sure. Yeah.
Again, I have no idea how the fuck to say this, but here we are. Oh, and they were married at, well, I couldn't actually find the dad's age of when he married her, but they did mention her age when he married her, which was 14. So there you go with that old age, younger marrying. And someone sounds to me that he's probably like 35.
Not as bad as it could be. Not as good as you'd want it to be. Not as good as
I'm pretty sure the cutoff range is right there, and it only like goes up.
Hold up.
Many people have been married at much younger ages, is what I'll say.
Yeah, 12. We know this.
I don't doubt this.
I never found anything. General, maybe you can. Have you ever found anything on his father's age? Maybe if you ever done research.
I did not focus as much on his parents.
Okay,
unfortunately.
Fair enough. Well, definitely, yeah. It was fun for me to actually try to get a little bit of background on him. Like that Tuscan nobility type of thing definitely raised that thing to me. It was just like, okay, yeah, that's why he was able to advance as fast as he did, and from that nobility standpoint. Well, yeah, he was definitely person of my Corsican temperament is what the word that was actually used explaining him, which was they explained it as a little bit more like a well-mannered, calm type of individual. Not totally what the hell is my
A dick is that what you're looking for?
yeah, I'd say that he's not totally a dick is what I found out.
Which is often what I attribute a personality trait that I attribute to French people in general. So
Yeah,
all the ones that I've met, especially French Canadians, are kind of dicks at least.
let's get some
Maybe
French
just to
Canadians in here.
Americans. Please don't.
Let's get some French Canadians in here to start yelling at
Please
you.
don't. Please.
Oh man.
Please, sir.
And they'll sit there and yell at you and then be like, "Oh, because I'm Canadian. Sorry.
Oh.
Oh, sorry. Let me get you a Tim Hortons
Sorry.
coffee.
Sorry, I'm Canadian.
Sorry." Another word that came out from him in his that temperament part was he was a man of the 18th century. Cool.
Well, I mean,
I got lost there. I got lost
sense,
there
yeah.
because exactly where you're going with it, General. I got lost there and like, well, yeah, he's in the 18th century. What does that mean?
That's when he was born. I don't.
what does that mean? I got lost there in that one.
You some kind of jokester? What's going on here?
You kind of jokester?
I think that always attributes to a level of culture and even pop culture, I think that's why it gets lost and why we don't always understand it. And I think it's a cheap way to just say he was into the modern fads and pop culture. He was up on things, because we see this term a lot with all sorts of people. And then they try to attribute it to like fashion or style or what they're doing or how they're doing it. And really it's just a fancy way of saying, we're pretty sure they were up on what they were doing. We don't really know.
Basically, like us in our age right now, we're all into smartphones and technology of some type of sort is what you're saying is like we are with the modern times. We're on a Zoom call right now. We are with
So
the
like
modern times.
100 years from now, they have no idea about like
what the hell Zoom
Steve
is.
Jobs to a degree. They'll be like, Steve Jobs was a man of the 21st century. Like that's just the only way they can encompass it at some point when they're like, we don't know.
Sure. That's fair enough. I'll take that. That actually makes more sense to me than my research was telling me. He was a man of the 18th century. Okay, cool.
Like I'm aware he was alive in that time period. Yeah.
Like,
Thank you. Yes.
Does that make me a man of the 21st century? Because that's all that tells me. I mean, technically, I'm a man of the 20th century. Actually,
Yeah.
I was born in '94.
Yeah.
Okay, well, upon my research of his, as he grew up, he was definitely very, very with his family. Definitely, what's the way I'm trying to say this? Family man, obviously not really. But let's get on to this. There's another part that will actually connect back to that personality bit, but I have it later in my notes here. But when he was going for his education, he went to military schools. 3 different military schools he actually attended at. More names I'm going to butcher incoming. Auton. Sure. Didn't we tell me how many? I couldn't find any research that said how many years at Auton. Some school. Auton. Yeah.
Insulting the guy's name. His ghost is looking down on you. Like,
Oh man.
It's Auton, you fucking faggot.
Oh, these Americans. Oh.
We're gonna get flagged for racism.
The French race. Yeah, that's the French race.
Take this video down. It's too racist.
Oh.
But the next school he attended was a college, and it was a military college at Brienne. I believe that's the way I'm gonna pronunciate that. He was
I think that's the best hit of the night.
Yeah. About 5 years there at Brienne.
Stop! You had it the first time. You just hit it all the way to the green, and now you're like putting at the fucking tee. Stop!
I questioned myself too much. That's why. You guys are now seeing a personal trait of mine where I question myself too fucking much.
The first one sounded perfect, I think. That actually sounded
And then
French
I
for once.
questioned myself and fucked it up. And he was a 1 year at the military academy in Paris. I'm just gonna say Paris. That's easy enough to say. Stick with it.
We're not French. You don't got to say all the French names.
Penis.
There you go. As we all know, that's how you translate Paris in English.
I would say that sounds he went to the military academy for 1 year at penis. During his time though in that military academy at the college thing, Dad died of stomach cancer, making Napoleon leader of the family at 16. So get more of his younger age of actually being at these different colleges and military educations. It's like 5 years before he was at a military college at Brienne. Like, wow.
Getting a lot of responsibility thrown on him very early.
Yeah.
So wait, what is this though? Who is his older sibling? Were they male or female? Because he's clearly the younger of the two. So wouldn't the oldest sibling assume head of household if it were a male?
That's what I found in the research too, being that he wasn't the oldest.
He's not like
he wasn't
oldest.
Yeah, he
He's not
wasn't the
first in
oldest,
line
but
for
for
anything.
some reason, when his dad died, he took the responsibility. It sounds like to me, as I was able to find any good research that said, otherwise, sounds like to me that older one either wasn't around or didn't want to take that responsibility. So
He was just a disappointment. They left him out.
Yeah. Let's go with that. Because he just took over being leader of the family at 16, but being number 4th child. Okay. So apparently, nothing, didn't really get much on his siblings, besides maybe a few that will appear later on as we do this research.
In the future season.
Apparently. But in I forgot to write down something. It was that year. I forgot to write down the year. Oh wait, there it is. 1785. This is a great start to a podcast. I'm fucking up all over the place. 1785 was that year when Dad died of stomach cancer, took over. And September of that year was when he graduated from that academy. So apparently that was like his more of a final step, getting somewhere with the military. Funny thing that I found out too, doing this research, he was 42nd, graduated 42nd out of a 58 in that class. It wasn't even the top 10. He wasn't even top 10.
For someone who shaped military strategy and tactics to today.
Things used probably today, blowing up inside. Like he knows what he wants to say.
What? Say what now?
He's not paying attention. Keep going.
No, I'm here. I just didn't hear what you said.
It's so unimpressive for someone to have such notorious knowings in like battle strategy planning and application.
Say what we
so
know,
low in class.
What we know and what we came out of high school or from middle school knowing about him is like being the top military man. It's like, holy shit, okay.
Absolutely. That's a huge what?
But then we see the same thing in history before. I mean, a lot tangent. A lot of my research, goes impressive when it comes to Civil War era stuff, American Civil War. A lot of what would be considered the best generals on the Union side losing battles left and right, while the ones that were in the lower ones went to the Confederate side and they were winning the battles. So it's something else we've seen repetitive in history before, that does happen. So and this just becomes another footnote that it's another case like that. I would say 42nd out of 58 became one of the most up there with like Alexander the Great, military leaders, Sun Tzu, whatever you want to say.
Maybe he was just bored in class. It's always a situation, maybe he's not stupid. Maybe
He was the class
over the
clown in the
top.
back of the class, shooting spitballs at people.
With his Corsican accent that I'd heard people in school. He didn't like it because people looked down on him because he was Corsican and not actually French.
Wasn't actually French. Yeah.
And like the only reason why he was there is because his dad was that like lower mid-level kind of nobility that he was able to go there. But still, people would make fun of him, and he got bullied just all the time. I mean, the guy's so short, Except he wasn't. He was an average size.
Yeah. Disclaimer: he was an average height compared to the time period, and nowadays, where everyone except the Asians are fucking towering high. Yeah, we're going to get flagged for that one too. That's racist.
You're like, how dare you call them the Asians and not Eastern inclined?
Eastern inclined. Oh my god.
What the fuck?
I was looking at the snake's face right now.
I'm telling Xi this. Xi Jinping. I'm telling him.
My god.
Oh my god.
You broke Slade.
It's hard. The truth hits hard.
You're still
What can I
trying to
say?
connect the dots. Look at this.
Just move on. Just move on. Let me sit
He's like,
with this one for a
I
minute.
gotta go.
You can go on another
Kill
tangent.
it.
Let me sit with this one for a minute.
Wow.
He just leaves the whole podcast like, see I gotta see you. See, I gotta go.
Turns off the podcast and just stares into distance for the next 4 hours. Oh my god.
Wow.
Yeah, let's move on to the next one.
Well, after he graduated from the academy, he went on to become a second lieutenant. Wow, alcohol fixes everything. Second lieutenant of artillery in the regiment of La Furie. I'm gonna say, yeah, another butchering probably. Anybody that listens to us and knows French is probably gonna tear me apart. Which is basically this was a training school. The regiment La Furie was actually just a training school for young artillery officers in the town of Valence. Sure.
Not bad.
Yeah. Again, I'm overthinking.
He's
it
there.
again.
He's in the army. He's not a very high rank, but he's there. An officer.
Yeah, it's basically, but
And the writing's on the wall already. He's in the artillery. Writing's already on the wall for
everybody, yeah. So
every future military campaign of his.
Now we get that point of his addiction to big guns. Is essentially is where we go down to this.
I mean, if you think about it, any male really has that same addiction. Guns
I
are
swear
cool.
it has nothing
can
to
I
do
say?
with compensation. They're just cool.
I'd say most of us probably don't share in the big gun category. So
No.
Speak for yourself. Speak for yourself.
And here we go with Gemma going like, check out my BBC.
They don't. No, it's BPC, Big Polish. No, never mind.
Big boy.
Oh, look who just got online on the Xbox.
Oh,
Father Haran.
we should.
He's supposed to be another one of our guests.
Filling this nice little space right here.
Yeah, see that
as
little
the
box
fourth
in the
guest.
bottom corner. Yeah. He'll pop in, Nate. Well, okay, so getting back to it we're still in Napoleon's background. We were taking a while. We need to probably speed this up. So we'll end up with like a 2.5 hour long podcast. He in 1786, he went back to Corsica. And not really much was said, according to my research. He was basically just went back and played more of going back to his his dad's role in the family, just being around, not really doing much of military wise. Had enough training under his belt now from we look at basically a year from being in the regiment of La Ferre. So went back in the 1786. But in 1788, so we spent 2 years back in Corsica, went back in 1788 to that same regiment. So went back to that little training type of thing. And here we come to it being 1788. The French Revolution was now becoming ahead. Next. Oh, so now we reach the point as it was starting to break out. Now we want to get a little background of the revolution itself. We could practically do like a whole series of episodes if we wanted to on the French Revolution alone. But I tried to sum it up. This gets moving as we just try to cover more. I wanted to cover it as part of Napoleon himself, as it was in the revolutionary time of the French Revolution that he started gaining his momentum, his ground, and what he'd get in the political field to actually get up to the fucking Emperor of France, because he took that claim. But that's for a later episode. We'll get to there. So now we're looking at the year of 1789, Revolution. So I was trying to look up, again, the French Revolution was not something that I like heavily studied. So I was in the learning process too of trying to get through and trying to find multiple reasonings behind it. This one in particular, compared to our own American Revolution, which is already passed by this point. Keep that in mind as we move forward with the French Revolution, that the French Revolution happened after the American, which we see with a part of the cause I try to connect with, I saw connections with, was one of the causes was the structure of the West, is what they're putting words of it, which I see the connection where it was just like, okay, we had French support during the last how many years with the American Revolution. So you see that there was a lot of, they saw why we were doing it to create our own nation and do different reform and changes. And I can see that there was a connection that took from the American Revolution that became part of the French Revolution. They saw the change, basically. They saw a need for change, and they saw the differences, monarchies and whatnot.
It's heavily rooted in political unrest.
Political unrest. Thank you. That's words I'm looking for. I'm not finding right now, but you supported that. Thank you.
I gotcha.
They call him the walking dictionary.
So his
That's the other reason. I missed that in my introduction. I am the thesaurus and dictionary.
His name is Slade, and he's a walking dictionary. Check it out. So that was one of the reasons I was again, it was a little bit more speculation. Maybe someone else can chime in if you chime in on that part of it.
Revolutionary wise?
Well, the connection that I made, because I connected them both.
Back to Napoleon, and this is, again, I did less research than you, but I do the same with a couple of resources because you get a conglomeration story. But essentially, as he's rising to power in in military aspects, there's already political unrest between, the leftist, I believe that's the Jacobins, right? And you have I forget the other, basically peasants at this time, the lesser and lower class, essentially. I don't even know what you would call them. And within this uprising, the Jacobins take in Napoleon into their group because a fellow officer whom he had worked alongside, and I apologize, I don't know the name, supported a significant amount of this revolution, and Napoleon disagreed. And the Jacobins took this disagreement that they even had publicly and put him on a platform, essentially, and said, you're going to be our spokesperson. You're going to run to be the head of whatever we start. And so essentially,
I'm sorry, I have it backwards. Jumping ahead to possibly episode 3. It's essentially what you're going
That's essentially
to.
it is. But
That's essentially what you're getting to, because that's when it was more of his that was definitely his political lies. But we're getting onto that into well, if I decide to go that way with episode 3. I don't know. I got episode 2 planned out.
Don't worry about
I'm
it.
not on
I
episode
even had
3.
some
So
things backwards in there. But the baseline is political unrest.
yeah, I mean that's absolutely it. It was a political unrest between the two. I saw a lot of what they consider the word words I was looking for is they call it the feudal regime, which is weakened step by step, now being overpowered by the wealthy or the bourgeois, however you pronounce that.
Bourgeoisie.
Bourgeoisie.
Oh, the
That's actually
bourgeoisie,
the
those
bourgeoisie.
bastards.
Okay, yeah, that's how you would say it. Thank you. So I was able to connect it back to 1730. So we're talking like freaking 50 years at this point. Backwards is when you can see where it ended up becoming a full 50 years later. Is from the difference between those two, you got your peasants, your more lower people. No, because this is a time when there wasn't really a middle class. There was the lower, and then there was the wealthy.
Yeah, there was the lower, there was the nobility, and specifically in France, I forgot what they called them. It was like the three something, but it was specifically there's the clergy, the noblemen, and then the poor people. And the poor people were like 98% of the population.
Exactly, and it was in 1730. You see the higher standards of living reduce the mortality rate among adults, and that was just the whole. You see a larger population because by the time the revolution was happening, France's population had jumped to 56 million. To me, that's a big number, especially when you think about today's number and then going backwards to where you think there's a lot less people. And you said they're like 56 million for one country. Holy fucking shit.
Even if you look at that today in France's population, it isn't much higher than that.
Exactly.
Although they have been fighting in wars for like the past few hundred years, kind of nonstop.
killing their young generation, keeping the numbers at a steady number, basically what it sounds like. But with that population differences between 1730 and 1789, with it being 56 million, you see there was a higher demand for the food and just basic necessities to survive as just a human race in general. Started creating enough reason, because you got the wealthy people basically just trying to steal everything. All of us. Who cares about the poor people? Who cares about the other majority of the 56 million? We're the 1%. Where does this sound familiar? But yeah, you get them just trying to just take everything essentially, and that's where it's just like they saw that, and that's where they deemed finally 50 years later, when it started to that point, the revolution seemed necessary. It finally just came to a head that the regime, who was in charge, all the wealthy needed to change, and it finally just broke out. Higher political power at that time started seizing control of the revolution, and is where we'll see to what was known as the War of the First Coalition. The First Coalition War actually started from France's side declaring war on Austria, essentially the Habsburgs. And they thought doing so would unite the country as it was supposed to be, and put more emphasis and basically fix the revolution, because by the time that they were declaring war on the Habsburgs, we've always seen which number Louis is he? 14th, I want to say. Louis the 14th was the one that was guillotined in the public square in Paris. Correct
Deserved.
me if I'm wrong. Sure.
Up for debate.
Yeah. It's like we see up a point of all this changes. They declare war, which this coalition war, you sit there and you're probably sitting there thinking, okay, it's a coalition, but you're just telling me that they declared on Austria, Habsburgs. It grew substantially, creating more enemies from the enemies they've already had before. They ended up in a war in 5 fronts.
Which is usually not a good idea.
Because they ended up with war with Austria. Britain joined. Spain joins just south of them. You see Sardinia. We've already mentioned that name before, which is just east of them in the Italy front. And then Prussia joins in as well. They're all collated together and created this big, huge, what became known as the War on the First Coalition. So they're always having mass revolution. Civil War basically is broken down with this revolution. And then they're trying to maintain a war on 5 fronts. Holy crap.
Every front, one could say.
Pretty much. They were surrounded. Definitely. Because it grew into the War of First Coalition with them. They wanted to just basically stomp out this own revolution. They didn't want any land. It was one of those, again, you will see this constantly with political, or not political, but Napoleonic wars. It's not about land. It was the political standpoint, make a statement, changes something. Somebody's in power, they don't want you in power. And they just go to war and kill too many thousands of people, thousands of men.
Not just the men, but also the women and the children.
That's it. Now we're going down. It's getting dramatic now. It's not just the women. Or it's not just the men. It's just the women. So here is where I want. So that was my brief summary of where we stand with the revolution itself. Anybody want to say anything before we move on?
I do have one thing that I can say, and that Henry, Father Ron, has messaged me. He's like, "Oh shit, I was asleep. I forgot that was tonight."
Oh fucker! Tell him to join right now. Tell him to download Zoom and do it. He would. Oh, for the love of God, he would.
And we're gonna go back to introductions, just so you know.
I know, it's like we'll reverse, take another hour to do this.
Got to start all over just so we can figure out who Napoleon is and where Corsica is. And
oh yeah, he's all behind. He didn't do any research. He's 100% here to learn and joke around. He doesn't know anything.
Audience relief.
He doesn't know anything.
Oh Lord.
What are we talking about, guys? The revolution. Which one?
Which one?
Which way? The only one that matters.
The revolution in my bathroom that's happening right now.
Oh man.
Just gotta say, why do they call it the restroom? I'm fighting for my fucking life in here.
Stop referencing memes.
Are you trying to use the bathroom, or are you like trying to give your kid a bath? Because if it's the first one, I feel like you should go to the hospital. If it's the second one, you just have a demon for a child.
Sometimes it's both.
First was the pre-ordering a MILF line. I'd heard that one before, and then now this one.
I live on memes. I'm sorry. 27. I live on memes.
Living
on them is fine. It's when you steal them is the problem.
You can't steal a meme. You can only borrow it, make it different.
Yeah,
I was changing the watermark.
I didn't see him giving.
Or do I do just crop out the watermark?
Just crop it out.
Post it to our Discord.
Oh man,
check it out. I'll make my own. I made like two. One was literally an attack against someone else, and then the other one was just a fucking using that one against fucking Sir. I don't know if you remember that one. Anyway,
Which
and
one?
I'll have to show you like later if I can find it there. It's blurry as fuck. My phone is doing shit on it. Anyway, moving on. So we got the background of the Revolution, French Revolution. And here where we see the key elements to it, and where Napoleon would actually gain a reputation. His first position in it. It was at Toulon. Toulon was a southernmost port of France itself. It was actually the most important port. It was right in the Mediterranean side of things, just to make sure anybody that's doesn't have a map in front of them not get too confused. It was actually one of the most vital ports to France itself. It had basically 1/3 of the country's navy based out of that port itself. You're looking at approximately 100 different ships. That was actually part of France's navy stationed there. Revolution caused that the local people didn't want the reason for the revolution to happen. They're known as royalists, and what they did is, especially being at war with Britain, Spain, and whatnot. Oh look, hang on, pause. His ass is going to get in here. See if he joins. Oh my God, there he is. Good luck. Let's see. Good luck with him catching up now. Do we have to go through everything? No, I'm not going through everything.
No. You don't have to deal with it.
Let's see. Just has his name there. So far, is he connected?
You there, Henry?
Just keep going. Just keep going. He'll figure it out.
We'll figure
Hello?
out.
Oh, there he is.
There's a Chicago
Hello?
accent. Hello?
Hey, fuck you. I just woke up.
Did we not be in the Xbox party last night talking about this?
I feel like that's a lot easier. Why the fuck are we on Zoom?
Because everything that I planned out for recording fucked up.
His history doesn't do
What are you
technology. The
recording?
old man can't handle it.
Oh, is that Swatums? Who's that?
Yeah, it's Swat'em.
Everything's
Oh.
been derailed.
Yeah,
I look at
there
this
goes the
now.
podcast.
How are
Uh-oh.
we ever going to learn about Toulon now?
Too long.
Too long.
I thought podcasts were audio fucking things. What the fuck are we doing
They're
video?
both.
They're whatever we
gay.
want them to be, okay?
No, I can't wait.
It's my podcast now. Run it down.
Fuck. What?
Fucking Sam
That's the new
Hell.
catchphrase of the whole show. That's how you just get it started every
It's
time.
my podcast, and I want it now. I don't
Show me the podcast.
think that would go well for me.
No.
I want Spider-Man.
We're gonna get flagged for something. We're gonna get flagged for racism. We're gonna get flagged for copyright.
For
Oh my god.
being idiots.
Mhm.
Mhm.
This is mildly inappropriate.
Definitely
Mildly.
NSFW.
Mildly. Anyway,
Who the fuck?
great to have you here, Father. And just for the
Yeah.
audience to catch up, this is our fourth. I was supposed to be here at the beginning, but then hi, he showed up late.
It's okay. There's always that one guy.
Oh yeah. So hopefully next week you won't be that late.
Oh no, probably I'll still be late. Yeah, no problem.
Oh my God.
Start looking for
Okay.
a
An
replacement.
hour late.
Start looking for a replacement.
Oh no.
Maybe we should do strength.
It'll be like a stick.
Let's
We
get
just-
bromines. Let's get bromines.
Oh God.
Oh, you mean so he'll show up like once every 2 months? Cool.
You watch this and get so pissed.
I don't give a shit. You get pissed.
Anyway, so we can keep going on because we're already going to be getting close to an hour mark, and we're over halfway through. We can make it. We can make it.
I haven't even
It's not
talked
too
about
long.
the Toulon.
Toulon. So getting back into it. Toulon again. It was see, I was just past the whole Navy part. Yes, okay. So we were at the part where it was most of the people in there was royalists and were against the revolutionary cause in general. Knowing it was majority of the Navy was there, they openly gave the port to the British.
Which is a
Sir
no-no.
Admiral Hood himself, which is you hear the name Hood from a World War II ship that got fucking sunk. Yeah, go Bismarck. So this is actually the original where they actually got that name, that ship from, is this guy, Admiral Hood, Vice Admiral actually. But yeah, they just gave it right on over to the enemy per se. So they were able to occupy it with approximately, the number I found was 14,800. Different, and it was had a lot of redoubts, had a lot of fort grounds around it, so they're quickly able to make a very defensible. But France itself could not allow this to happen, so they immediately sent a force down there. The force number actually grew and declined, grew. So there's not an official. As in, like, I just said that there was occupiers were 14,000. The attacking of this would become a siege there was no actual. Oh, wow. He turned on his camera.
Hey, how you
General,
doing?
you are out of luck.
I would argue I'm the only lucky one.
Ooh.
Look at this ugly, all three ugly mugs here in one just team.
Yeah.
Oh, you gotta see him in person. That's the way you get in his face.
I already said that. Yeah, I already told him that.
Apparently you guys have met in real life.
I was so tired. I fell asleep in my work uniform. I was done.
I'm just so hot, right?
No,
I'm just
God.
so hot.
Oh, it's ridiculous.
You guys are
I
fucking
come
on
every
the side,
time
aren't
I see him.
It's like literally Chris Evans.
Mm-hmm.
Something tells me he's really blowing himself out of proportion.
Oh, I
Kinda
am
looks
blowing
like a lizard.
myself, but it kind of looks like a lizard.
Oh, moved a couple ribs there. Anyway, we need to get back on track.
The siege.
The
Siege of-
The
siege.
siege.
Yeah, the siege.
Rainbow Six.
Napoleon. Mm.
Yeah, Napoleon was recommended to take over the artillery as he was passing by. That was a funny thing. A deputy name that I didn't write down, but I knew it was like the most pain in the butt thing I would ever try to say. General, do you know the deputy that recommended him?
I do not. I did not go into as much detail, it seems, as you when I was reading.
Okay. Well, some deputy of something or other. Great historical podcast. We kind of get some certain details correct.
His ghost is not looking favorably upon you.
Yeah, Napoleon was actually a captain at that time. He was literally passing by on his way to a different front when he's basically poured off of that traveling line and be like, hey, we need you at Toulon. You've been recommended to be the artillery guy there. 16th of September of the year 1789. When he took over, he definitely we're going back to where we know him for being known for artillery. He immediately took over and was just like, there's not enough guns to do this. What are you guys doing? Which actually wasn't compared to I believe there was like 20-ish cannon on the entire line to try to siege and take this. So there was not enough gun crews or not enough trained gun crews to even man those. He actually would take over he built a workshop, he built a forge, and they actually started making their own cannon right there in the field. And in order to crew it, obviously, again, we're going back to there wasn't enough trained gun crews. He was able to pull from infantry and training the infantry guys all the work cannon. For that, or doing so, he actually got himself up to approximately, I want to say, research I got was like 63 guns in total, went from like 20 to 63, and he was able to get like somewhere in the 60 officer range and 1,500 men actually would be under his command as captain of artillery, taking over the artillery of this. So during the war, it was about like south side of Toulon itself. There was you could basically say there was actually 3 forts there on that side that he saw immediately, came up with a plan that those 3 forts need to be taken, and of course use his artillery pieces to actually be able to bombard into the bay itself, because that's where Admiral Hood had his ships of the line there. He figured out a plan that if he bombarded those ships, Admiral Hood would have no choice but to actually pull out of Toulon itself, doing a general retreat to leave the city, because he couldn't risk his British warships to actually be sunk, damaged, and lost, because that was his retreating factor. They're in a surrounded city. They got nowhere else to go but back through the way they came. So he came up with this plan, and the general in charge, Couriette, I think that's how you pronounce it. Another butchering of the name, I'm pretty sure.
Sure.
Yeah, basically was just an idiot. Had no military experience prior to being a general in the army. He basically bought his commission, you could say. Cartoon, sure.
I know where that is. Khartoum. KHA.
Channel 32, Cartoon
No,
Network.
The spell, yeah, Cartoon Network. Scooby Doo. How are you? Oh, okay.
Courage the Cowardly Dog, though.
But yeah, so Napoleon actually was able to convince some merit. Cartoon was able to see some merit to his plan of actually taking those forts. But Napoleon wanted approximately like 5,000 infantry to actually make the charge on this fort and actually take these forts, which could have been done if they fully committed. Carto was just an idiot and just committed 400 on the first attack. 400 on. They got decimated and immediately just fell back. And from falling back, they immediately from the other forts, because you see, the forts were like there was one here and then there was 2 behind on the shore. And from these 2 back behind forts, they reinforced the front fort, creating a broader line and actually making more batteries of their own cannon against there, creating they bolstered their lines from where they saw that the French's point of attacking was. So again, Napoleon now is freaking frustrated as all get up because Cartu, being incompetent as he was, just failed on his own plan. Well, lucky enough, about like a month, or I think it was about a month later, Cartu was replaced by a General Jacques Duguerry, or Dumouriez. French pronunciation sucks.
There's some American history in the future.
I'm gonna
so
start
we
making
might-
cards for this, and I'm gonna hold up a scale of 1 to 10 for everyone you get. And by the end of the show,
the
you get a
French,
total
dude.
out of like
Oh,
400.
I hate that I
That's
have
all
to
you
be the
get.
one to try to actually pronounce every single one of these.
Get a pronounceable name, and then we'll fucking talk, dude. Fuck
Get
the
a
French.
pronounceable name, you fucking idiot.
Get a normal fucking name.
We'll call you escargot. Something French. Oh no. But when he first arrived, Napoleon came to him about his original plan. Still wanting to go through with this, Jacques, let's just still go with the easier name to say, Jacques, new general, without any hesitation, committed to Napoleon's plan. Immediately just going like, yeah, that sounds amazing. Sounds great. So now we are in December. So when he took over, so from September to December now, took over, committed to the plan, December 16th, 1789. The attack started at late evening, more of like a closer to nighttime. There was a rain actually that night when they decided to attack, which, if you know gunpowder, black powder, being somebody that deals with it, yeah, water and black powder do not mix, and most of the time you just sit there and go when you're trying to discharge your weapon. So interesting not to decide to attack on this time. Going, let's go for it. I can't fire my weapon. Cool. But ended up being a lot of melee combat, a lot of the bayonet usage during this time. They either using their guns as clubs, weapons themselves, and then just to give them the cold hard steel. So the initial wave went in, meleeing each other in a vicious, bloody hand-to-hand combat. Napoleon himself, which I failed to mention, he was promoted to major as soon as Jacques took over. I forgot to cover that for his valiant efforts of changing the artillery around. So backtracking because I fucked up there, but we're back on track now. He was captain to major. Quick. Anyway, back to the fighting at the fort. While leading, he came in the second wave, leading personally. His horse was shot out from under him. So of course he falls off the horse. He makes up to the wall, still trying to go, with his saber about, trying to get over the wall, leading his men right in front. Well, a British sergeant with a bayonet stabbed him in the fucking thigh.
Oh God.
So that was impressive. Another moment in history we see some legendary person almost become not legendary in history because they almost got fucking killed.
My leg!
SpongeBob moment right there. My leg!
Oh God, my leg!
And so, of course, he lay wounded, but we get into the more of this bloody fighting himself became, they overwhelmed the British, actually succeeding in taking all three of those forts. They took a lot of prisoners, a lot of the British troops that were there, not really seeing much line of retreat. Either they fucking died or they just tried to swim their way away. But it was a general rout, a general loss. Those three forts were just got them. French won. Woo! So, of course, in doing so, they were able to go through Napoleon's plan where they got a total in the next over 2 days. So we're looking at from 16th to the 18th. They turned their guns that were all in the fort on the British fleet that was anchored there. And then they brought on their own heavy guns, so numbering about 10 guns by the 18th. And by that time, they actually started firing into the harbor there, hitting the British ships. Because, of course, at that time, Hood, exactly to the way Napoleon planned it out, Hood had to retreat. He had to order a general evacuation of all 14,000 troops there from all the forts, all the readouts, the whole defense, and the city itself. Became a general retreat, organized and unorganized in certain spots of the city, but they attempted to actually take away, they did blow up some stores, storage depots from like weapons, ammunition. They're retreating from it, and they did try to burn as many of French ships they captured as much as possible. Towing out, they mistakenly left 18 ships of the line of the French, but then also numbering from their navy, a total of 80 ships were left. Still intact. They missed a great opportunity there. At least cripple them as they were losing this city and general. Great victory, great that Napoleon was just he masterminded this simple plan to actually just make him Germany retreat out of this. I was able to pull some stats here, seeing about the different fighting that happened throughout, because it wasn't just that couple battles that I basically mentioned. There was a general attack that the British actually did try to retake the situation more north of the fort line, where they actually tried to go on the offensive, take out some batteries, more of Napoleon's cannon, which they were actually able to beat back. But casualty numbers. So for the French Republic, they suffered 2,000 casualties estimated. For the Anglo-Spanish garrison there of Hood's occupation, they suffered approximately 4,000 casualties throughout there. Oh man, sorry, my mouth is starting to dry up.
That wasn't water. What was that?
Guinness.
Of course. Staying hydrated, I see.
Staying hydrated, Irish way.
Oh man.
From this great victory and from we first seeing that his Napoleon's reputation actually was coming out, and the first time it was actually seen, we come towards he was actually, for his efforts coming out of this, he became Brigadier General of Artillery coming out of the siege of Toulon. And from here, we see him take his first steps into history. Ta-da! And that's the siege of Toulon. That's going to be our first episode. Hallelujah.
more like a first limp, you know, because
You made it. There you go.
You were here for like 20 minutes. Shut up.
Fuck you. At least I'm here. I can't even see you, bitch.
2 hours late.
In an hour. Relax.
You're not here, so you don't even know that. You don't even know that Napoleon isn't even French.
Including our drag into this in general. But yeah, I mean, that's definitely I actually quoted Napoleon, as you would say, later. He did make a quote that he said, "It was at in Toulon that my reputation began," which is definitely what we see. This is his first step in going towards his path to greatness. Is he was one stupid, incompetent general, did not see eye to eye and didn't fully commit. And another one comes in and goes like, "Yeah, sure, commit to it," and he proves a victory. Now, from this siege in general, when the British did actually was in their retreat, they did actually try to leave with 14,000 people from Toulon itself, because they actually started freaking out, knowing that the French Republic now would actually the repercussions that would happen, which definitely did happen. I was reading multiple reports that said after Napoleon and our French revolutionaries or Republic entered the city, about every day for a month, 200 citizens were actually gunned down. Firing squads was definitely a big repercussion after. So they definitely had in the retreat. But yeah, so but there was I didn't find anything, and many claim the same thing, as they don't see any direct, from killing civilians like that through the firing squads, that he was Napoleon had direct influence over it. I didn't see anything about that, so but that's up for debate, because that's just speculation of like, well, we don't see any proof of that either way, but something to think about. Anyway, first episode. Woo!
Nice. You made it.
Praise be.
Now,
Praise be.
made it through all the technological issues, and hopefully
After an hour of
here.
technicalities.
Oh my god, I wanted to shoot myself in the head. Still want to. Because this was a longer evening than I was planning. So I eat dinner. But yeah, you guys for joining in on this. Next week we will come right back. Hopefully without the technological issues, be able to actually really get in on the time we plan to start. Maybe I'll be able to figure out how to actually fucking stream this. But yeah, so next week though, kind of still stick in the French Revolution time, as we will be covering something else that Napoleon was actually known for.
Not for being Corsican and not French.
Not being Corsican.
Or being short.
Being just a tiny little guy.
Little fucking midget.
Freaking midget. Anyway, anybody got any closing thoughts? Anything? We don't know how to end this.
Well, this is over, and then we go straight into the Warhammer podcast. Welcome.
No.
Henry immediately turns off his
And
camera.
that's how we end it. Everyone leaves one by one.
If even if it's just me by myself, you cannot stop it. It is coming. Comes all the
Going
same.
back to sleep. Fuck that.
Hey, you can't go to sleep. Somebody just asked you in the Citrix just asked you in the Discord if you want to play Back for Blood.
Ooh, hell, that's a good escape from the Warhammer. See you later.
Yeah, not if I join you. Not if I join you.
Oh,
He grabs
God.
his Xbox headset. Well, anyway, thank you for joining us on this first episode. A little rough, a little patchy. We'll definitely be working on, getting this a little bit sorted out better. But thank you for joining us. It was fun. We'll be doing this again. Catch us next week, Friday, 8 Eastern.
Wave
I'll
goodbye.
I'll be on time for that one.
Are you sure about that?
We'll see.
Anyway,
No.
good night and goodbye.